Welcome to the Nonprofit Exchange Podcast. Stories by leaders for leaders to help you raise the bar on your own excellence, to release the potential inside of you. Now, here's today's podcast. Greetings. This is Hugh Ballou. Welcome back to this episode of the Nonprofit Exchange, Leadership Tools and Strategies. They're for nonprofit leaders and clergy, but really leadership skills development is for everyone. My special guest today is a dear friend who lives in Texas and works globally, Terilee Harrison. So Terilee, tell us a little bit about your background and this networking thing that you're an expert in. What's your passion for doing that?
Hugh, I came to networking 15 years ago, or even a little more. And when I did, I didn't know anything about what I was supposed to be doing. I was working in financial services at the time. And you know what? I quickly learned that I loved the networking part of what I did more than what I was doing. And Hugh, you'll appreciate this story. You've been a leader at networking organizations probably for many, many, many years. And someone sought me out and said, would you start a group for us? And I didn't realize that that's one of the things that's done in networking. I thought I was special. So I started a group, and you know what? Things kept rolling ever since. And I thought I would start a group or two. And I never dreamed way back then, because I learned through the School of Hard Knocks how to network. I never dreamed back then I would have served thousands of business owners over the last 15 years and helped them to be able to create steady streams of referrals and to be able to learn some of the nuances about how important networking is and how to do it. So I come with some bumps and bruises, but I've learned a ton along the way and love to share it with people.
And I've been participants in a couple of your groups, and they're high performing groups. And you set the format and the culture so people know what they're to expect. So it's networking in a very different way. So we use this word a lot.
Yeah.
Networking. So interpret that word. What's it really about?
A lot of times too, I think people that think networking is I go to a networking event and I meet someone and I exchange a card, or these days you might get their information on a Zoom chat if you're meeting them online. And we think like that is networking. But there's so much more. Like if talk about like the iceberg and the tip of the iceberg, what networking really is about building deep, meaningful relationships where we focus on collaborations. And so I can go to a Zoom, and Hugh, thank you. You invited me to an amazing networking Zoom late last week, and I got to meet a bunch of neat people. So what do you do with that? You might meet people live, or you might meet people on screen, but pick the people that you resonate with, pick people that you think you can collaborate with, and begin to build relationships with them. Not all of them will. Hugh, what did he say at the top of the podcast? Hey, a dear friend. Not all of them will become a dear friend. We can't be a dear friend with thousands of people, but we're actually looking to get past like the surface connection and really go deep with our relationships where we know people well, we know how to help them, and we want to come alongside them and do big things together. That's networking to me.
And everybody wins.
And everyone wins. And even the people you meet once that you connect with, we want to have that exchange be super meaningful. And maybe you won't speak with them again, right? But yet we want to leave everyone that we touch better because we had a conversation with them or a bunch of conversations.
What you've helped me with is changing the framework for networking. There's a reciprocity in giving. Well, yes. Want to provide value. In my Rotary Club, it's service above self. We serve others. Yes. And in our faith journeys, it's about servant leadership. So we approach it, and people that don't like networking say, I don't want to brag about myself. I don't want to sell myself. Well, that's the wrong idea, isn't it?
It is. So one thing that I teach is about the concept of what I call the big ask. So whether you are in a networking group where you are going to go back repeatedly, or maybe you even have a chance one time to meet people, it's always great if you will throw out something sticky to the people. So quick story, and you might have heard me say this one, but I had an Italian friend one time taught me how he could tell when he was making pasta if it was done was he would throw it to the wall and see if it sticks. And if it sticks, it's done. Do you cook pasta that way?
No.
Someone one time goes, I
Authentic.
wouldn't want to clean the wall after, but anyway, you want your pitch, your commercial, your introduction to be sticky like that. Because otherwise, if it's just, hey, I'm Hugh Blue, I'm with Center Vision, and there's really nothing there like to catch my attention, I'll be like, okay, that was really cool. And I go on to the next person, right? But if you can get us to stop for just a second when Hugh says he's looking to be connected on podcasts or looking for guests for his podcast, give us something that sticks, and people will be like, oh, and they'll write it down, and they will want to see what they can do to help you. So it's okay to say that you're all that in a bag of chips, but we want to know that you're fantastic, because we want to know, hey, this person's interesting and I'd like to meet them, and then hook us in with what you're looking for. So it could be that you're hosting an event and you'd like their help with that. You'd like them to attend. You'd like them to help you get the word out, whatever it is, hook us in. And what I call this is the secret sauce is not just like looking for one client at a time, but I call it the big ask, the big ask. And how can you take whatever you're asking for and make it bigger? So one example might be, instead of to be on a business podcast, how about to be introduced to a coach who works with a bunch of podcasters? That's what she does, is she helps people launch and manage a podcast. So she knows a ton of podcasters. That's who's in her network, right? Do you see the difference, Hugh? I know you do. And for the people listening, it's huge when you can begin showing up, and it's okay to ask. It's okay to be proud, and ask big, because that's when you're going to get the referrals you're looking for.
Well, and coming from the nonprofit church synagogue world, we need to get our message out, and we've been taught wrong. We've been taught leadership wrong, and we're going to tell people about a workshop we're doing soon. And then if you're listening to this much later than we're recording it, you can get it on replay. But teaching people the leadership piece of networking, and it's really essential today. And we prejudge people. We look at people and say, nah, they're not my candidate. Well, in nonprofit world, we're looking for donors or board members, and we prejudge them rather than thinking, okay, let's talk about the synergies between, if somebody's going to be on your board or be a donor, you need to know what their interests are. What ignites their passion? What do they want to see happen? And we always make the triple ask: time, talent, and money for either organization. But then we're thinking that it's the person we're talking to that's the end game. That's not true either. It's their Rolodex and their minds.
Yes.
So talk about how that expands the possibilities.
Okay. Whenever you will get specific and get sticky and put it out there what you're looking for, it does. We begin looking in our head at first of all, it's going to be I'm interested in that, or I want to tell my husband, or who do I know? And we begin searching, and we will look for anything that's a match, right? So having the ask and going all the way with it, with the gift, time, talent, whatever it is that you're looking for is just really, really key. And may I pop in real quick for the nonprofit leaders? There is nothing more important than being active in your community. If you're a local nonprofit, if you're clergy, being active in your community, sitting behind your desk all week long isn't going to serve you, right? Being known, knowing others is absolutely huge. And so we might not think networking is important. Now, that's for the business people, but that's not true at all, Hugh.
You are so right. That is spot on. We get behind our desk or whatever in the nonprofit we leave, we say, oh, I'm too busy for that. So what's your answer to I'm too busy for that?
I don't think that you have any choice but to make time, and I'm gonna not rat him out, but I'd love to share. So my husband, if that's all right, my husband is right now he's a missionary, and we live in Houston, but the work he does, he is serving ministry leaders in East Africa. Okay. But he's on there right now. Like, we believe in doing volunteer no matter what's going on. So he's in there filling out an application to be a sheriff's chaplain here in the area, right? We believe in serving and like doing what you enjoy. He loves that stuff. He did it when we were living in California a bit ago, right? And so how do you show up? Maybe it is that you're even going to go network with other clergy of different faiths in the area, right? Maybe you're going to go serve on a board at the local food bank as a clergy. Whatever it is, showing up and doing it will only enhance all that you're doing. It will only enhance what's happening for your organization, your ministry you're working at, and it'll enhance your life. And you will in turn just benefit other people. You're going to be shocked if you will get behind your desk what can happen.
Yeah. So I want to go back to a part where you talked about relationship.
Yes.
Really, leadership, it has its basis in relationship. Communication has its base in relationship. Funding, people aren't going to fund you if you don't have a relationship with them. So
Correct.
talk more about building the relationship, and you don't go right in and say, hey, I'm Hugh, I'm raising money. There's a relationship piece first, right?
There is. So one of the most important things about relationship is to be all about the person. And it can be easy initially in networking to say, well, what's with the with them, what's in it for me, right? Eventually things will come down to that. But if we will just stop and say things like, Hugh, what's the latest with you? I think this is what led to us doing the event we're going to be doing and us being here today. It was what is the latest, Hugh, and how could I help you? What could we do together that would help us help more people, right? And having that conversation with people of what is the latest with you and how could I best support you in that? Isn't that what we all want to hear, really, right? And it will all come back to you, I promise, if you will put your focus on the other person first.
Absolutely. There's a reciprocity in giving. So,
Yeah.
so we let the cat out of the bag. So let's tell
We
people.
did.
Just tell people, whoops, no. We want people to know about this, but we wanted to give us some hard content about networking. And then we wanted to offer more, and this is free. You're not buying anything. This is not a webinar. We're going to hustle you and sell you something. This is a workshop. So what was the idea? You came to me with the idea. So what was the idea behind this, Terilee?
The idea was I wanted to elaborate on networking, knowing that your oh my gosh, expertise and all your experience and crux with leadership, right? And we wanted to marry the two for just like a 55-minute conversation, talking about how you can maximize your leadership skills and build your network in this new era, right? We have a lot of change happening in the world, and how can we show up to the best and highest for our organization, for our family, for our people, and for you also, right? As someone that's a leader. And this is what came from it, is we would both love to come and share some of our best strategies, our top practices, and our hope would be to benefit you all in some way that will make a shift and a difference for you moving forward.
There's a lot of moving parts to this. So she said 55 minutes. We're going to give you, we're going to lay down the tracks for how do you build your leadership skills so that you can deliver, you have the right message and you can deliver the right message. So we're leaders, and even if you're talking to one person, you're presenting, because we present to influence, and we have a great product. We have a great service. We impact people's lives. And so you don't want to talk to people. You don't want to share it. Get over it. It's time to tell people, because it's important. And the work that we do is important. And in the nonprofit world, we have this V thing, the volunteer thing. So there's a lot of people who have a lot of passion who can step up to work together. So there's an A-B part of this workshop. I'm going to do the leadership upgrades we named. Terilee is going to do specifically then, how do you purpose this, and how do you become more effective at creating this win-win situation when you network, and then how do you create the relationships that keep on developing? Any more you want to share with people before we get back to our topic at hand?
I think it's just about showing up as, and maybe I'm already going to go in the direction of where we're going to be, just that it's okay to show up as you, as who you are in your leadership and in your networking, right, Hugh? I don't have to go be you to be successful. It's okay to be me. And we want to encourage that as well.
People want to show up, I got to wear this suit. I got to look this way. I got to be this kind of persona. Well, part of I teach transformational leadership, and number one, you have to be authentic. Who are you, and how do you show up? And then how do you maximize that to leadership is influence. So we influence people. So this authenticity, how does that show up in networking?
I think it's one of the keys is to be you. So number one, it is when you can do your work and when you can show up and be confident and you're okay, you are good enough. It's not that, oh, I'm not good enough to do this. No, you are good enough to do this. And then just show up and be you and talk about what is important to you and those who you're supposed to meet and do things with, they will be like, I want to talk to her. I want to talk to him. So letting fun things seep out about you. So I always say I have a Supergirl cape and I'm not afraid to wear it. You'll sometimes see my Supergirl pictures on my social media. Sometimes see it behind me at my desk, right? It's okay. I guess some people will be like, that is fantastic. Sometimes all people, whoa, women are like excited about it and men are probably like, okay. But the thing about it is no matter what, just be you. We are attracting our tribe. We're attracting the people who, especially when we have an organization we're serving, we want people to say that's what I've been looking for. And so it is key. We do business with those we know, like, and trust. And if you are shifting around and not letting them see the real you, they don't know that it's okay to trust you, right? So show up as you all the time.
So part of what I'm going to talk about is creating your position of influence. Now, who do people say you are? It's sort of like your branding statement for who you are. And like this podcast, this nonprofit exchange podcast we're doing, we started this 8 years ago. Your episode, this is number 305 with 150,000 plus downloads. So people know about it. So at the beginning, we were going out there, you want to be on the podcast, you want to be on the podcast, convincing people. Now, people come to me, I want to be on your podcast. And so we're booked out for months. And it was clearly defining the value of what we offer. So we help leaders tell their story, which then brings value to many other people, which brings emphasis to the brand that you represent. So there's a win-win or no deal in my world to show up and then build this collaborative sense. And we're not in a world where people understand intuitively how to collaborate. So networking is a little bit about collaborating, and you talk a little bit about joint ventures is the highest level of networking. Can you talk more about that?
So collaboration, leverage, and whether you want to take, we will call it power partners, people who share your clients and it's not competition. And our focus there would be giving referrals back and forth. There's another level of networking, and that is when it's we're going to partner, we're going to collaborate, and I'm going to promote you if you promote me. So it's not about like one referral of a client. It's about, I'm going to introduce all my people to you. So if you look at this is a sample. Hugh and I are modeling the sample of what a joint venture can be. So a joint venture would say, let's team up. I'm going to bring my expertise and my audience. I'm going to bring my expertise in my audience, and we're going to widen the scope, right? We're going to serve more people together, maybe create a new message, a new twist on a message we've never done before, because I've never done an event with someone in Hugh's gifting at this moment, right? And how do you know if one day we might do another one? We don't know today, right? But it's a higher level of networking. You see, it goes beyond that one referral to who knows what introductions we can make and how we can serve people in a different way. And this is truly when you're taking your relationships to the highest level, when you say, I know you, I trust you, and I'm going to introduce you to all of my people. It's not just one introduction. It is putting it all out. So this is where, if organizations can find a way to team up in a big way like this, where lists can grow, where we can serve more people, but it takes you being willing to trust. It takes work on both sides, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it.
I would echo that. It's so worth it. So, we try to do too much ourselves. for the last 13 years, I've studied the leadership work of psychiatrist Mary Bowen, Bowen, Bowen Family System, and learning about self. And one of the concepts that Bowen talks about is not over functioning. We tend to do too much. We do things other people can do. And in terms of volunteers in the church or the nonprofit, when we, the leader, do it, it's too much trouble for them to do it. We're robbing them of an opportunity to step up in their ministry, in their service, and they're fulfilling their passion for excellence. And so we don't realize that part of it. We're creating a negative dynamic, and burnout rate is highest in history now. And it's not just the anxiety. It's we're not going to bother people. We're going to do it ourselves. And therefore we're going to get buried. And so bad that Mary Bowen even called over functioning irresponsible responsibility. There's a toxic part of that. So getting people that understand where you're going, and I think it starts with why, Simon Sinek, why, we impact people's lives. So there's a need here, and here's how we accomplish that need. So there's a context for what we do when people ask us. So I'm going to talk about the position of influence, and it's really your branding statement. What's the value proposition you offer? Whether you're in business, whether churches aren't all alike, synagogues aren't all alike, nonprofits aren't all alike. So what's different about what you offer, and what's compelling for people to want to come and serve with you or to donate or whatever? So the networking, it's pretty much the same if you're recruiting a board member or an advisor or a volunteer or talking to a donor. It's still the same kind of pattern, isn't it, Terilee?
It absolutely is. It will follow the same. I'm going to want to connect and build the relationship and go from there. And some people are your people and they'll stick. And some people, it may be that one-time conversation, but that is exactly where it starts. It just repeats and repeats and repeats.
I would give people a link again, and then it'll show at the end of this video. And it'll be on the site for the podcast if you're listening to the audio podcast, but it's Leadership Workshop, just like it sounds, no dots, no slashes, leadershipworkshop.org, O-R-G. That'll take you to the page where you can register for this. And even if you miss it when it's live, or that you're reading this years later, or you're hearing this years later, you can still watch the replay. And it's still relevant. We're dealing with the heightened anxiety today, and coming out of the lock-ins, it's more important than ever to connect with people and talk about the value of what we offer. And so we're going to give you some really strong tips. So and some what to do, what not to do. So we're coming to the end of this really helpful interview. So let's talk about, what do people do wrong and how can they correct it? What are some of the worst things people do when they go to a networking event, and how can they fix it?
One of the biggest things is that they go to the event and you assume that because you feel like you did something positive, because you took the time and went to the event and you met somebody that you want to connect with. And here's where the disconnect is. And then you don't follow up. So you don't make that connection. That if there's anything that I could speak into now, it's that. So one thing to rectify that, Hugh, would be, now we didn't always, that's how long I've been networking, and I'm sure you as well, where you didn't have like your calendar in your phone. So you can actually, I recommend, like if I'm meeting Hugh at an event, we're sitting by a table, is let's pull out that calendar and let's set that time to chat again, or could you stay for just a few minutes right now? Could we chat for a moment? Could we meet before the next meeting here? Just get the appointment down. You can also do it in a Zoom chat really quick. I'd love to set a time to chat with you. Here's my calendar link. Zoom it over to them. And nothing's better than leaving a Zoom meeting and going into your email and there's already an appointment booked. You don't have to chase anybody down. That's the disconnect, Hugh. And if leaders can get past that and begin following up and taking action and executing, that's when the good things will start. It's all in the one-on-one conversations where good things happen.
And owning the backup, the follow-up. I can't tell you how many times people network and they give out a card and people say, I'm great, I'm interested. And they don't have that person's contact information. And they're so sure the person's going to contact them, they leave. Well, what if they lose your card? What if they forget? We need to own it. So you make the appointment right there, or you say, I'll email you. Well, if they're leaving, there's no time to talk privately. So let's the famous saying, oh, let's have coffee sometime. People don't mean it. Can we have coffee on Tuesday? How about 2:00? Does that work, or is 3 better? So, honing in on it. And, the best target for a salesman is another salesman. If people are specific and if they're busy and you say, well, let's just settle this right now, they're going to respect you. A good leader respects you when you step up as a good leader. So own that contact and say, let's have the next conversation. And if it works out, fine. If not, they're going to say, well, I'm not the candidate, but here's somebody you need to know. If you've built that trust is one thing we're building in a relationship, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, so follow up. I can't tell you how many people I start a conversation with and then do the next step and they don't follow up. And there was such good synergy. So we don't want to chase them, but we certainly want to ping them from time to time. Hey, are you ready to have that conversation? So don't give up, because
don't give up.
Some people follow up right away. Some people take some little time. Other people are really laid back, and then they think, oh yeah, that lady, Terilee, I need to talk to her. So keep your active list active, because some people might want to talk to you a year later.
It's true. It's true. I've recently had some things that came through, and it's because I stayed on it over a 2-year time. Do not give up. Some of the best things take a bit of time.
Absolutely. So if it's worth doing, it's worth sticking with it and making it happen. So we're not being pesky. We're just valuing people's time by closing the gap. And you don't want to devalue what you offer. So I'm going to talk about how to create that value proposition, how to define it. And then how to prep yourself for having those conversations, because we sit around and we think, I wish I could get so-and-so. I wish this person would respond. Well, they will if you step out, and we have to go out of our comfort zone. That's the growth place. And as a leader, we step out of our comfort zones. That's where we're going to grow and be able to do more. Any more things we need to fix, or some best practices before we end this really helpful interview?
I think one last tip in the follow-up arena would be, when you get someone amazing on that first call, is to say to them, hey, let's schedule a follow-up call in 2 weeks at the same time. What do you think? One way to keep it going.
Yeah. It's so many people say, oh, they liked it, and I'll check with them later about no, do it now while they remember. And then 24 hours, send a reminder. Hey, we're going to talk about this, because, they've probably slept since then, and they might have forgotten what you were talking about. I forget. So if I make a note on my phone, we're going to talk about this on my calendar, then I can remember, because I've slept since then. So Terilee, as we part here, if people go to leadershipworkshop.org, why should they care to register? It's free, by the way. Did I say it's free? Why should they register? Why should they come?
I think if you are resonating with the networking conversation, with the leadership conversation, the position of value conversation, it makes sense to invest this 55 minutes in you, so that you can move forward in your cause and in your calling, in your business. And there's got to be something we're going to say. If you like some of the tidbits we threw down, there's going to be way more. And so we would love to have you come and love to have you be part.
And you just might get some free stuff that you can then
thinking you will.
You might. That's right. So there's value in putting aside time. The best leaders continually work on themselves, building their skills and building their systems. So you're listening to the Nonprofit Exchange, a podcast of Synervision Leadership Foundation, where we help leaders grow their skills. So transforming leaders, transforming organizations, transforming lives. This is Hugh Ballou with Terilee Harrison saying thank you for being on the podcast today and listening and watching. And Terilee, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today with our listeners.
Thank you, Hugh. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Nonprofit Exchange.